Just when you thought every light novel were just fantasy stories or isekai, here comes 86, a sci-fi story. Oh boy, this was honestly a discovery for me. Considering how prevalent and, well, everywhere the isekai and fantasy genre are, not only in light novels but in anime, I was starting to think that there weren't any stories like 86, which were more sci-fi based, or less slice of lifey. Generally the sci-fi genre is looked down upon, and I'm sad about that because I honestly like sci-fi. But I guess we should go over this plot. In the Republic of San Magnolia, Major Valentina Milize, often called Lena for short, and as such I'll be referring to her as that from here on, is put in charge of the country's unmanned defensive mecha in their war against the Gadian Empire, and they're also unmanned defensive, well, in this case, offensive robots. However, these mecha are very much manned by a group referred to as the 86, the former inhabitants of the now decommissioned 86th sector of their country. These people now ostracized due to their ethnic relation to the empire that's, well, assailing the Republic right now. The group she's been put in charge with are a special case, with their operators basically committing suicide one after another. The leader of this unit, named Shin, is an aloof anime boy, and, well, the story is her trying to go closer and closer to the group while they're desperately trying to not really get too close from their distant handler because she only communicates with them via telepathy. Well, telepathy induced by technology. I'm not gonna beat around the bush of this book. This is a story about systematic institutional racism, which is rather highly topical at the time of writing and still at time of recording. And this was in no way planned at. This is just something that happened. Although in this case, the institutional racism has less to do with the police and more to do with stuff like the World War II internment camps that were a thing back in the day. Look it up, it was a thing that happened. But yeah, the 86 are basically forced to be mecha pilots in order to fight the Empire's AI units known as the Legion, who've basically gone full Skynet and destroyed their creators while planning to destroy the Republic and anything that's not the Empire. And the people of the Republic live in a blissful ignorance because the war is far away from them, and they believe it'll all end relatively soon when the robots inevitably break down without anyone to repair them. But in the meantime, the 86 suffer and die, struggling for any form of comfort in life while having to basically work their ass off for the dead promise of inclusion once their military service is over, which their military service is basically suicide runs. Again, none of this was planned out, it just kind of happened. So one element that I kind of only briefly touched upon with the telepathy thing was the fact that the neural links are a thing in this series. Basically, the operators communicate with their units via psychic brainwaves, and that's kind of cool, but really it just replaces very good radio communications and adds some backstory implications for the morality of the Republic and how they use child experiments to complete these things. To show the systematic racism is a very bad thing, even though we really didn't need much more to show it was a bad thing, but this shows it was the even worse thing than we previously believed. I'm going off topic. But this is the key way Lena and her squad communicate, as Lena struggles to reach them and form some kind of bond with them, and later on try to help them overcome their whole situation of, well, systematic racism, while they slowly come to trust her and understand her sincerely and the fact that she is honestly trying to help them. But in the end, it proves very useless as Lena cannot overcome the system, and the system is definitively against the 86. Again, systematic racism. This was not at all planned out. This recording, not the book itself. The book itself is very planned out. Anyway, the main antagonists of the story are the Legion, also systematic racism, but also the Legion, who have, yet again, as I stated earlier, gone full Skynet and evolved beyond their programming. They've wiped out the Empire for simply stopping to be the Empire that created them, and are now basically attacking everything around them. They've also found a way to evolve further than their originally inbuilt destruction, and in a sense overcome the various difficulties that they've had. And after taking out, well, more advanced Legion robots, the remaining members of Shin's squad are sent off to end their service on what's effectively a suicide mission. And that's where the story kind of ends, but not really. The final chapters of the series of this book are an epilogue, and, well, it's a really big epilogue, as it takes place 2 years after the events of this story, where the Republic has fallen, inevitably losing the war due to their ignorance about their whole situation. That's right, because they continued to ignore reality and just threw more and more sacrifices at the robotic swarm that the robots were actually using to grow stronger, they paid the price and were almost completely wiped out before another nation known as the Federacy comes in and bails them out. But because their inhuman acts have been now shed into the light, they've effectively become the new 86, and another form of systematic racism, but not as bad. From here on, Lena finally meets in person with the remaining members of Shin's group, including Shin himself. And that's where we end. It's kind of a somber note to end on, because the war's still going on, and a lot of the characters that we spent most of the book getting to know are dead before the end game. And, well, all it did was only buy time until the Republic inevitably falls anyway because of its own shortcomings. I mean, they were racist, delusional assholes who deserve a cold hard dose of reality, but again, the other characters did die for this, so I kind of wanted it to last a bit longer. But that's not the ending to the story, because apparently Volume 2 and 3 are set in between the epilogue and the end of the plot, which is basically they're there to fill out that 2-year time gap, which makes me curious about what happens and what's going to happen further for the series. I'm kind of led to believe that the epilogue was meant to basically wrap up everything and give a happier ending to note on, a happier note to the ending, and that Volume 2 and 3 were made, well, obviously they were made afterwards in order to fill in that gap, but hopefully it'll end up in a better way than the Sword Art Online situation, where the basic elements that went into Season 1 were only in Volume 1, and all the fillery crap that you felt was filler was in later volumes add on to fill up time in between stuff that happened in Volume 1. Hopefully it does better than that, but I honestly do like these characters and this setting for the most part. Again, it's a mecha anime basically, so yeah, I kind of like this. I mean, there are very few mecha light novels I could find, at least ones that aren't based in fantasy worlds, so this one gets a plus for that. And Lena and Shin are generally interesting characters due to how well they blend together, and will kind of clash a bit because their whole things. Anyway, this one obviously has an anime coming soon, but I wonder how the anime's going to handle that 2-year time gap, or if they're going to cram a lot of Season 1 into Volume 1. Also, considering that this is going to be done by A1 Pictures, I hope the CGI is decent, because I imagine most of the mecha will be CGI. So, again, as I was saying, I really do enjoy this story and these characters, and I'm somewhat looking forward to seeing what happens to them afterwards. I'm tenuous at best to know what happens in the other 2 volumes that feel basically like filler at this point from where I'm standing, or, well, sitting. And, yeah, that's it. This does come recommended. Partially because I'm tired of fantasy isekai and would like some more mecha fighting in my light novels. And, well, next time we're probably going to be back to fantasy isekai. Well, not isekai, but still fantasy light novels. There's links in the description to various things, and do what you do. Have yourselves a good day or night. See you next time.